Hi there and welcome along to another workout for you to row along to. We're on week 3, session 4, and today's workout is a bottom tier workout. What you'll be rowing is 30 minutes straight, okay? No intervals, just a straight 30. But it's going to be broken down into 5-minute chunks. The first one you're going to do at 18 strokes a minute, the second one at 22, and the third at 24, and then you're going to just repeat that again, 18, 22, 24. Pace-wise, for the 18 strokes a minute, you're going to do that at 2k plus 20 to 22, which is round about 5k plus 15 to 17. For the 22 strokes a minute, you're going to go round about 4 seconds faster than that, and for the 24, another 2 seconds faster than that. And that's really the pace guide for today. So it's a bottom tier, but what you're going to find is it's going to push the bottom tier a little bit harder, but don't worry about it. I'm going to explain this whole session to you as we get into it. But I want to just get into your 4-minute warm-up now. So start off by setting up your machine. So go for drag factor. If you don't know how to set your drag factor, where to set it, etc., remember I have a video on this YouTube channel that goes through it at some length, it must be said. Then go to your monitor, set it so you don't have to look up and you don't have to look down, so you can keep a powerful back. And then finally set the foot straps so that they either cover the bottom lace in your shoe, or if you're in socks like me, they let you just bend forward comfortably at the front. So a 4-minute warm-up. Around about 18 strokes a minute. I'll talk you through it as always. You ready for this? Let's go. So in 3, 2, 1, go. Now remember, this first minute is just about getting moving. This might be your first row of the day, your first movement. Well, not movement, that sounds wrong. Might be your first exercise. You might just have woken up, just gone straight in the rowing machine, had a cup of coffee first. Maybe a lunchtime. You're having a little lunchtime row, gone to the gym before you get back into some power meetings or something. Or, like me right now, it could be the evening. You've had your dinner and you just want to get some exercise in before you settle down. To have a nice restful evening and then bed. Either way, this first minute is just about getting your body moving. And then this next minute, I just want you to focus a little bit on what your back's doing. Both the angle, leaning into 1 o'clock at the front, holding it as you drive with the legs, and then finishing to around about 11 o'clock position. But also, just think about sitting on your sit bones when you come into the front. Have a nice, powerful posture. I don't want you to round your back in or slump at the back of the stroke. But I'll explain more about this when we get into the main session. In 10 seconds we're going to take 1 foot out the straps, so 2 more strokes, 1 more stroke, take a foot out, put it on the floor, continue rowing with the foot that's left strapped into the machine. This will just help you increase your compression, flexibility to the front of the machine, because you want to have both legs to try and get flexible. Continue taking full strokes though. Drive with that leg that's in. 1 more stroke. Swap feet. And then continue with the other foot. I know I say it a lot, but it's easy for me to do that because I'm in socks. I realise that if you've got shoes on, you may still be struggling with getting your feet out of the straps. 3 strokes. 2. 1 more stroke. And then both feet in, slight bend to the knees, and just roll with your back swinging your arms. So legs nice and straight, not locked straight, but none of the power from your stroke here should be from your legs. It's just your hip rock or back rock through the hips, more like. And then pull in with the arms. Right, one more stroke here. And let's do the reverse. Slide to the front with straight arms and just push off with the legs. You don't have to worry about doing a full drive to the back of the machine, because this is just about grabbing the flywheel at the front of the machine, just that point when you connect. That's what you're trying to get the sensation of here, is connecting without your butt scooting back first. All right, one more stroke, and we're done with the warm-up. So there we go, so that's our 4-minute warm-up done. Continue sliding up and down the rail, have a quick drink, and I'll just explain one more time what it is we're doing today. All right then, so the session today is going to be 30 minutes. And you're going to split this into 5-minute chunks. You're going to go 18 strokes a minute, 22 strokes a minute, 24 strokes a minute, then 18, 22, 24 again. Okay, and that makes up your half-hour row. No rest in between, just a half-hour row broken into those chunks. Pace-wise, your 18 will be done at 2k plus 20 to 22, which is round about 5k plus 15 to 17. And then for the 22 strokes a minute, round about 4 seconds faster. And for the 24 strokes a minute, round about 2 seconds faster than that. So in my case, I'm going to be starting off round about 2 minutes 5 seconds. And then for the 22, round about 2:01. And for the 24, round about 1:59. Okay, so that's today's session. So we might as well get strapped in and start with it. So 18 strokes a minute at 20 to 22 starting should be a nice continuation almost of the warm-up we've done before we move on. Okay, so here we go. Yes, I am rowing. Thank you, watch. That's very kind of you. So let's get ready to go in 3, 2, 1, and we're off. So 18 strokes a minute at 2k plus 20 to 22 or 5k plus 15 to 17. As always, just follow me for the stroke rates. If you're watching on a YouTube video or ErgZone, you can just follow along with me in vision for the stroke rate. If you're listening to this on the podcast, just listen out for the whoosh. And try and row in time with that. But you'll have a counter on your machine anyway. It tells you your stroke rate, so just remember you're holding 18. So we're a minute down after this stroke. Hopefully you've hit your pace. I'm going a wee bit too fast right now. That's not a good idea. I'll back off a bit, down to 2:05. So, I want to talk today about technique, obviously. I want to talk a little bit about motivation, but I also want to talk about this being the danger point in the plan where you can start to push things too hard, push the wrong sessions. So, today's session is a bottom tier workout, okay? But you'll find out as we get to the 24 strokes a minute split that it's one of the more intense bottom tier workouts. So if right now you're gunning it faster than the 2k plus 20 to 22, you're going to suffer when it comes round to the 24 strokes a minute chunks, because it's easy right now to row 18 strokes a minute 3 or 4 seconds faster than I'm telling you to, but to maintain that kind of over pace through the entire workout means that you're going to be rowing your 24 strokes a minute way too fast to keep it in a bottom tier workout. So It's definitely going to end up a more intense bottom tier workout. You just have to give it time to develop into that 24 stroke part of it, so don't worry about it. Now you might be saying, hang on, this sounds as though it's going to end up being more of a mid-tier workout. Well, no, but session 5 of week 3 is a bottom end mid-tier, if you get what I mean. So today's is a top end bottom, the next one is a bottom end mid. So it all works out in the wash. And this is all offset by the fact session 1 was a more intense mid, and session 3 was a muscle-based top rather than cardio-based top. So if you look at all the sessions over the week, it makes perfect sense. But I don't want you to look at an individual session and push it because you think it's easy, or because you look at something like this and go, oh, I'm not rowing that slow. If you want to do a hard session, do a 2K test or a 5K test. Don't push the sessions as prescribed by me. Right, one more stroke, then we're up to 22s. And run about 4 seconds faster. Again, just stay with me for stroke rates. And let the stroke rate be what makes you go faster. So we're rowing 4 strokes a minute more than we were in the last 5 minutes. And that's what should be making you go 4 seconds faster per 500 meters, if that's what your monitor shows, than before. You shouldn't really feel like you're having to push any harder with your legs. You'll find that the higher stroke rate and the fact the flywheel doesn't have quite as long to slow down means that the same perceived amount of pressure into the foot plate as you drive off with your legs just keeps the pace up, keeps the stroke rate up, and you're not really feeling you have to put in more power. Your drive speed's quicker, your recovery's quicker, but not massively so that you feel like you're racing up and down the rail. So we're 2.5 minutes into this, and hopefully you've settled in to that pace. Good solid drive from the legs as before, but notice I'm not saying anything about arms. Your arms are still just finishing off the stroke rather than it being an increase in pulling power to make you go faster. Yes, you still have to finish with those arms, but your finish hasn't increased just because your pace has gone up. And that's a really important thing to learn is that, especially at these low rates, your speed comes from the stroke rate, which is, if anything, governed by the leg drive. But like I said, the flywheel deceleration means your leg drive stays on top of it eventually anyway. But it's not about adding more of a tug at the end of the stroke to try and go faster. It's not to say that if you pull with your arms you're not going to go faster, but for a session like this, that's not the point. The point is to attenuate your speed through stroke rate. Because if you start using power in your upper body instead of stroke rate, you tip the balance of this being a bottom tier workout. Okay, so in 20 seconds, we're gonna skip up to 24 strokes a minute and another 2 seconds faster. 2, 1, here we go. So 24, one stroke every 2.5 seconds. Now I'm aiming for 159 now. Like I said, this is when you'll just feel your heart elevate. It'll feel like you're having to use your fitness a bit more than in the first 10 minutes. But crucially, there's only 5 minutes of this one until we go back down to 18 again. So just at the point where it might start to feel like you're getting into mid territory, we'll sink back down to 18s. And remember, this is meant to just push yourself out of the easy bottom tier stuff and be the higher end of it. It's all planned out, evened out across the week. So don't get impatient. Like my t-shirt says, don't push the slow stuff, push the fast stuff. And this still counts as the slow stuff. So, before I get into technique, let's just talk about motivation. Because we're towards the end of week 3 now, and it may be that this week has presented some challenges. You may be feeling really strong from it, or you may be feeling like you've still got a long way to go. But the important part is that you're here, and that is the magic fairy dust from where motivation comes. No one's going to just drop it in your lap one day when you're sitting on the couch. But once you get up off the couch, make the decision to do a row one day, and then come back the next day,
even if both days you're only rowing for 5 minutes. Eventually, after day 4 or 5, you'll be like, maybe today I'll row for 7 minutes. And you'll stay there for a while, and then you'll think, oh, I can feel I'm able to go for 10 minutes. And then as you see your results and your fitness improve, that is what creates your motivation, momentum in what you're doing. Once you start that ball rolling, it wants to keep going. From the downside is if you push yourself too hard too soon, or push yourself on a session you're not meant to, and either feel too tired or didn't get the result you were hoping for. That can derail you slightly. So never set yourself unrealistic, immediate goals, and you should stay motivated most of the time. Okay, 6 strokes, then back down to 18. Two more. Here we go, 18 strokes a minute, 2k plus 20 to 22, 5k plus 15 to 17. Now, confession time. This is the 3rd time that I've recorded this session, because the first time I got it wrong and said that this was 24 for the 15 minutes down to 10. I tried to backpedal and apologise, but it happened so soon that I knew it was going to end up causing confusion, so I binned my first attempt. Then yesterday, when I tried to record it again, the sound recorder cut out. Sound problems once again. That's okay. Means I got to do this session 3 times in a row. Well, that's not true either. After the first failed one, I then recorded session 5 the next day. It was only when I got into the edit suite to put together session 4 that I realised my error. So, all of you eagle-eyed viewers on the YouTube channel will notice some haircut continuity issues between session 4 and session 5, which has been my job as a editor, and I'm supposed to guard against continuity issues. Cuts deep, but I wanted to make sure and get this session properly done for you, because it's a little bit out of the ordinary by going a little bit harder within a bottom tier session. And getting the stroke rate wrong would just to confuse things. And you know what I'm like. I'm very loose with my fluffs and errors, but even I couldn't handle that one. So anyway, let's just hope everything works out properly today, Because as great a session as it is to do 3 times, I kind of want to get into week 4's sessions. So anyway, this one, short hair, bottom tier, but pushes a little harder. Session 5, longer hair, but for a mid-tier workout, is actually quite light. It's only 20 minutes of rowing at 24 strokes a minute, which is still firmly in bottom tier category. But if you look at Mondays, which certainly pushed your mid-tier, or sorry, session 1, let's not give it a day. Session 1 pushed the mid-tier, session 5 goes the other way with it. So they balance each other out across the week. And yes, I know I said that about 10 minutes ago, but I really want to impress upon you that the sessions all complement and balance each other out. And pushing one harder than you should can throw your entire training for the week out the window. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Now we're going up to 22. I'm around about 4 seconds faster than you were. So for me, that means I've gone from 205 to 201. And hopefully, if it took you a while to settle into this pace and rate the last time round, your brain should have learnt the sensation for how it felt last time and will quickly remember and go back to it. Neuroplasticity at its best. Your brain always wants to sponge up new things, which is why I constantly talk about technique. It's so that you can focus on it and not give up on your brain learning it. So even if you have some technique quirks, you don't have to accept that and not work to change it. Just focus on it as often as you can, and eventually your brain will develop the myelin it needs to retain and repeat what you're teaching it. So let's spend the next few minutes recapping what I consider to be the most efficient and safe rowing stroke. And it all starts with your back. So start thinking about posture. Think about having a nice powerful back at the front of the machine as you start the drive, and then at the back of the machine as you finish the drive. Now at the front, it helps to think about sitting on your sit bones rather than having your hips tucked underneath you. So if you're on your sit bones with a forward lean to the 1 o'clock position, and you have a braced core, hopefully those 3 positions will lead you to having that powerful erect back that you need to be able to transfer the power into the stroke. Now if it helps, just imagine that old carrot stuck up your backside. And as you're rowing, you don't want to snap the carrot. Such an important concept that I actually have a t-shirt with that on it in the RowAlong shop. So we're not talking bolt upright, where you could end up causing more injury. Just talking powerful, ready to accept the power from your legs, and then you're trying not to round your back at either the front of the stroke or the back. I'm definitely bad for it at the back. Okay, 10 seconds. And now we're up to 24 again. Another 2 seconds faster than you were before. So for me, that means 1:59 pace. So, you're thinking about your back being powerful. Next, your arms. Nice and straight at the front, and as you start the drive, you only bend your elbows at the back end of the stroke once your leg drive is finished, and then you pull in the handle nice and powerfully to sternum height, sending your elbows through your sides and squeezing your shoulder blades together as though crushing a tin can between your shoulder blades. And then once you finish the stroke, get that handle away from you at the same pace you brought it in at, and let that handle away be what starts that rock through the hips for your lean forwards from 11 to 1. And then arms are nice and straight as you get to the front of the machine again. Handle height comes into the sternum and goes out at pretty much the same height again. Nice and neutral, relaxed arms, soft shoulders, open fingers like a hook over the handle to let the power go up through your back, into your arms, and into the handle. And where does the power come from? Your legs. So you want to coil up the spring by sliding forwards until your shins are pointing vertically. No more. And try not to be too far off. I don't want the seat slamming off your heels, just shins vertical, and if you need to have a small heel raise to do that, that's perfectly fine. As long as when you start the drive, you get those heels down. Okay? So you drive from the heels, not from the balls of the feet. So shins vertical, knees inside the bowl you make with your straight arms, and when your body leans forwards, you should get a good compression at the front, ready to spring out of it and drive with the legs. A good solid push with the legs. No matter whether you're at 15 strokes a minute or 30, it's all from the legs. And you'll hear the machine accelerate as you get that leg drive in. Then your back rocks through the hips, your arms come in, and in 4 strokes, we're done with today's session. 2, 1. Well done. How did you feel that? Like I say, it should have pushed the bottom tier description further than we normally do if that was like just a standard 30 minutes at 20 strokes a minute. But it shouldn't have felt as though you actually knocked that one solidly into the mid. It might have tickled, but only because those 24s took you there. But then you stop before it becomes a solid mid. Right. Fancy joining me for a 2 minutes cool down? Let's. In 3, 2, 1, go. Now I'm going to be round about 18 strokes a minute and 2k plus 30, which is 5k plus 25. Just enough to engage all my muscles, make my body work just enough that everything gets a chance to cool down instead of plummet to a stop. And nothing good happens with the word plummet in it. Although can you plummet in love if you see someone? Can't really. Weight plummeted. See, that's not a good thing though, is it? They lost weight is good. Their weight plummeted is they're ill. So anyway, so I hope today's wasn't too much like a lecture, but I'm a little bit concerned about some people commenting how they pushed some of these sessions, which is fair enough if it's a standalone session, but for the people doing it within the actual 5k plan, bad idea. Like I say, if you want to do a tough session, if you feel you've got the wind in your fur, do a 2k test or a 5k test and get it out your system, and you'll either end up with a PB or with your tail between your legs because you weren't actually as energized as you thought you were, and you'll realize you should listen to coach. See, I'm still ranting. Right, one more stroke for me, but you can continue rowing. Just make sure you can cool down a little bit. Yeah, I mean, we're in this together. We're all doing the 5k plan together. We're trying to get faster. We're trying to use this to build up our fitness and our power, and ultimately the time it takes us to row a 5k in. If you go off piste within the plan, which then means you can't do the next one at the pace that it's supposed to be at, you've kind of tipped the balance the wrong way and you're not going to get the full results from it. Trust me, I've been that guy. When I was doing the Fitness Matters training plan, I used to constantly go, oh, I don't want to do a 30-minute, 20 strokes a minute. And that's why I burnt out. That's why it all ended up being a bit ropey for me at times, because I'd gone too hard, and then when it came to the tough sessions, I just didn't have it in me because I'd burnt myself out on the low sessions. So anyway, so there we go. So that's session 4 done. Session 5 is a nice bottom end of the mid-tier, so it's almost like the transpose with each other, but they're not quite, because it still is tough enough to be a mid-tier. But finally, we got session 4 in the bag. So the hashtag for this one is third time lucky, okay? And let's really hope when I get into the edit suite that thing's recording, that thing's recording and all that stuff. Because I like this session, but I really don't want to do it again. So anyway, hope you're all well, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.